let's go ahead and move on to this story that went viral from the Olympics, which really caught my attention. We put this up on the screen. So if you're an Olympic athlete, you actually get access to all kinds of healthcare services. And some of these athletes made great use of that because, number one, even a lot of the medal winners in sports that are less popular, that aren't the mainline, basketball, et cetera, they don't earn a lot of money. I mean, these are incredibly high-level, exceptional athletes, but they may not have the money to afford healthcare in the United States of America. And so you have this headline here that American athletes were radicalized by free healthcare available to them at the Olympics. And in particular, you had a rugby player, I believe, who realized that she could go and get like all of her appointments and whatever, and was shocked to find that there was no cost to her whatsoever. And she started making TikToks about this that went viral. Let's take a listen to that.
Okay, y'all. So not only in the village do we have free food, but we have free dental, free health care. I literally just got a pap smear for free. And I have a dentist appointment. And I exam next week. Like what?
And Emily, we're the only developed country in the world that doesn't have free healthcare. There were all kinds of comments about basically Americans discover healthcare. But, it's a national embarrassment that our top elite athletes who are going here to represent our country don't have access to a basic gynecological exam and a pap smear back in the United States of America.
So again, this is the biggest handicap in the world for Republicans, and they legitimately have no idea. Elected Republicans in Washington, D.C. have absolutely no idea how seriously this issue is weighing on the minds of voters, how heavily it's weighing on the minds of voters. And you can see it by the fact that they even made these videos, the Olympians made these videos because it struck them immediately. And Democrats, you see the Harris campaign, you see Tim Walz starting to talk a lot about freaking healthcare. Hakeem Jeffries is coaching his candidates to talk about healthcare. Republicans have no answer to this. And they are the ones then, because they have no answer to this, that end up looking like the supporters of our legitimately cruel current system. Basically, everybody agrees that our current system absolutely sucks and is a disgrace. And because Republicans have nothing to offer, they're the ones that look like they own the system, that these Olympians are going viral for being like, man, this is so much better than what we have. Well, Republicans are the defenders of the status quo on healthcare just by default.
Yeah, well, that is true just by default. But I mean, I don't want to let Democrats off the hook here. Joe Biden claimed in his presidential campaign that he was going to fight for a public option. And then the minute he even got the Democratic nomination, he stopped talking about it. And obviously, even in the midst of, there were some changes, attempted changes to healthcare, expanding Medicare in particular to include dental and vision and ears, as if your, ears and your eyes and your mouth aren't part of your body, but expanding Medicare to include those things. There was a push for that, but it wasn't ultimately successful. There also has been some success, very limited success in terms of bringing down prescription drug prices, and specifically in the case of insulin. But any of the broader sweeping changes, Democrats have just sort of given up on as too difficult, as too much intra-party friction in terms of what the right solution is. And so Kamala Harris, in terms of her rhetoric on this campaign trail, has just been about Republicans are going to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Now, Trump tried to do that, so she had some grounds to say that. He did attempt to do that in his first term. But, is that going to be another push that he makes? I don't hear Republicans talking about healthcare at this point at all. They've just also been happy to sort of let the matter drop. And meanwhile, this continues to be, if you're thinking about, families, if you're thinking about working class, middle class people, just a basic quality of life issue, this continues to be a massive pain point that both parties find it, too difficult or too inconvenient politically to try to address, not to mention the massive array of moneyed interest who benefit, who get unbelievably rich off of the current system, who are very happy to have any conversation about reform completely buried.
and who got really rich and benefited a lot from the Obamacare system. And Matt Stoller has written about this. Our friend Matt Stoller has written about this, and his research and writing here is excellent. And I think that's really important too, because it creates vulnerabilities for Democrats, but it just shows, we talk about the uniparty a lot in the context of foreign policy, but when interests are so tangled on lucrative issues like this, you end up with stasis. You never get anything done because healthcare is legitimately a very complicated issue. There's a lot of money to be made on it. And so that is a recipe for absolutely nothing ever changing. And even the Affordable Care Act, which was supposed to be this radical sweeping change, it's been incremental at best. It's changed the system in some ways for the better, but in some ways for the worse, and in some ways just really not much change at all. So it's so depressing to think about how we are probably, I don't know, Krystal, I feel like we're never going to get out of this mess. I just don't see a light at the end of the healthcare tunnel, which really sucks for normal people because it's extremely expensive, and we're lucky we still have a high quality care in the US, but I'm not optimistic that we stay at that level.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I mean, on Obamacare, I think it's undeniably better than the disastrous system we had before, just in terms of, you can no longer be denied for preconditions and some of those systemic changes that were made. But it was designed to be good for the health insurers so that they wouldn't stand in the way. And that was always going to really curtail how much you could do with it. It's interesting, Nancy Pelosi, I think, talked recently about how she still regrets not being able to get a public option, at least into Obamacare, and it's certainly not a major push. And then that means that the salience of the issue, too, in terms of people's focus and what they're voting on also drops, because that's the only thing that would really change this at this point is a massive national backlash that could overcome those powerful interests.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.